and welcome to the Visionary VA podcast, the go-to show for ambitious virtual assistants who are ready to stop trading their time for money and start scaling their businesses into thriving agencies. I'm Holly Copsey, founder of the award-winning agency Virtually Priceless and the Visionary VA Circle community. Each week, I'm here to bring you actionable strategies, proven systems, and mindset shifts to help you transition from a solo VA to a visionary agency owner. If you're ready to grow your business to dizzying new heights with less stress and more success, you're in the right place. Hello and welcome to the Visionary VA podcast. So this episode is going to be a bit different from the usual ones, as today I'm joined by the fabulous Sarah Dodsley, who you may have heard me reference in many previous episodes, as she has had a huge impact on my life over the last few years. Sarah is a highly skilled executive and life coach dedicated to empowering people to achieve what they want in life and work. With a strong foundation in personal growth strategies and leadership development, Sarah helps clients gain clarity, build confidence, drive meaningful and long-lasting change. Specializing in really going beneath the surface and tapping into deeper meaning, purpose, and subconscious beliefs, she provides tailored coaching that fosters self-awareness, resourcefulness, and understanding about what is going on in your world. Sarah brings a mix of traditional and experiential coaching techniques to her sessions to support people in unlocking their strengths, overcoming challenges, and creating a more fulfilling and successful life, which is exactly what she's helped me with too. So Sarah, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to us.
Thank you, Holly, and thanks for inviting me.
So to give everyone a bit of context, I first met Sarah at a parenting group when I had my son 7.5 years ago. And I was going through an incredibly tough time as I'd just separated from my then husband, taken redundancy from my corporate role, and I was in the throes of setting up and launching my business while finding myself alone with a very small baby and a 3-year-old toddler. We kept in touch occasionally, but we didn't actually work together professionally, I think, until about 3 years later. And I hit breaking point one day, found myself in tears at my desk yet again, and got in touch with Sarah to ask her if she had any recommendations for a therapist, as I vaguely knew what she was involved in. But we chatted things through, and it turned out I was exactly the type of client that she could help. So we had an initial meeting where I let it all out, and it got very emotional. We then had regular sessions for a year or so where we worked through everything from the breakup of my marriage to my new relationship, parenting, family dynamics, business growth, health and hobbies. In fact, there's probably not anything we didn't cover in some shape or form. So it's been a journey. Now, Sarah, I know there is so much we could cover today, and I promise I'm not going to use it as a personal therapy session for me. But maybe you could just start with you sharing some of the most common problems that you find people coming to you with, particularly women, which is predominantly our audience, and what some of those recurring themes are.
Yeah, thank you, Holly. And it has been a real journey with you, but it's so nice to actually look back and see that journey now. It's amazing. So in the main, people will come to me saying they're struggling with confidence. It often presents as I'm not feeling very confident or some sense of stuckness. And that seems to be a broad theme that people will come to me with. And what I'm able to normally quite quickly sort of get beneath the surface of that is really realise that often, and this is a predominant female trait, is that they're giving absolutely everything to everybody else and not to themselves. And it's really hard to break that cycle. But that's really where I come in and I help them sort of see, actually, there's a lot more going on here. Yes, it's confidence. That's the result that you want. And of course, that's what we work towards overall. But often it's about what's going on beneath the surface that we need to explore. And breaking those patterns of putting everybody else first. I mean, one of the real recurring themes, I think, is women in leadership, female entrepreneurs, if they have children as well, and lots of other commitments, they're tending to everybody else's needs, often identify as people pleasers, and genuinely don't know how to stop doing that. Because, of course, if they stop doing that, does that mean that they're not a kind and caring person anymore? And that can be really kind of woven into our identities. So I think those are the main themes: confidence, people pleasing, and putting everybody else before themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And with our listeners on here, that I'm sure the people pleasing aspect is definitely something that will resonate, because we're here looking after clients, we're serving clients every day. A lot of people will come from a sort of PA or that admin support kind of background. And that's just the way that our life has been for a very long time. And as you say, once you start throwing family into the mix as well, and you've got the responsibilities of children and pets and other caring responsibilities in life, it just gets amplified. And I guess it's probably as the case with me, you just reach breaking point, right? Quite often it just becomes too much.
Yeah, and I think these ways of being they're wired into us. They're really hardwired and programmed into us. And I don't think we realise until we hit that breaking point how much things need to change, because we push on through so well. We're actually really great at that, putting a face on and just kind of ploughing on through.
Yeah.
And often I meet my clients, my female clients, at a certain point in their lives where they just know they can't continue in that way
Yeah.
anymore. That breaking point is, yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
And that was exactly what I went through, right? I mean, I was definitely that person in my family or friendship circles where people had no idea. And it was just like, I've got this, everything's fine. And everyone just thought she's cool as a cucumber. And I was absolutely just falling apart. But I think when you are good at just putting on the fake smile and saying everything's fine, it's so easy to let that go on for years, right?
Yeah, it becomes a real skill
Yeah.
that we have. And actually, we often then we don't want people to know
Yeah.
that we are struggling, because it becomes just a part of the way we are. We almost feel like we have to present this. I've got it all together. I
Yeah.
don't make mistakes. I don't let anything slip. So it becomes that bit of a double bind. And we also, something else I think I notice a lot is we're not necessarily able to ask for help. We find it really hard to ask for help because we've been so used to just relying on ourselves for such a
Yeah.
long time.
Definitely. And I think that brings me quite nicely onto my next question, which is around used to be my favorite word, but it's certainly one I identify with a lot with, which was failure. I saw giving into that and telling people that I was struggling. I saw that as failure, as well as many other things going on in my world. Is that a me problem, or is that something you hear a lot of with people?
Oh, that's absolutely everywhere. And it's really interesting because I think it really makes me think about the relationship that we have with those words. For example, what does the word failure mean? And it
Yeah.
might mean slightly different things to everybody, but there'll be a general theme of, if I failed at something, then I am a failure. We often make it mean it's a very personal, I am a failure in some way. And actually then what sits beneath that, and this is often the limiting core belief that we identify through my work, is that if I'm a failure, then I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And if I'm not good enough as a person, where do I go with that? So these kind of the feelings around failure and not being worthy are so tightly wound with each other. And they're really deep rooted beliefs. These are not things that we've just developed recently. They go back a long way.
Yeah, and that's it. And like nowadays, talking about failure in a business sense, you see it all the time. People saying you don't learn unless you fail, and to be a successful business person, you've got to have failed X number of times. And I think in that sense, you kind of get it. But when it's issues that are so personal, and for me, I felt like I had a failed marriage behind me. I'd failed to move on, and I remember like quite a key conversation with you where you're like, well, who says you have to have moved on? Like, why do you actually, it's always going to be there. You're not necessarily going to get over it. You're going to learn to live with it. And it was just such a moment of like, oh, wow, okay, I haven't failed. This is my way of handling it and it's okay. And I think a lot of the work, I think giving the approval, that's probably not the right word, but that
Permission. It's often permission to feel. Yeah.
permission to feel a certain way and to just actually it's okay to feel all the feelings. And I think particularly when you've been brought up in a way where actually you're taught to suppress them and put on a face and put on that brave face and don't be someone who cries and don't let people see weakness. And it's not necessarily a healthy way to be as an adult.
No, and I think it's no surprise to me now, kind of having done this for a while, that the majority of my clients are of a particular age range. And I think you see that it's because of the upbringing that many of us have experienced. And I think you've really just spoken to that about put on a brave face, get over it. And I think that we do suppress, we find ways to mask, and there's only so long we can do that for. And that permission piece is so important. And I notice this a lot when I work with people. When I introduce the idea of what if you just give yourself permission to feel whatever it is that you're feeling, regardless of whether it's the right emotion, the wrong emotion. It will be painful, it's difficult. If you just give yourself permission, there's often this sense of relief that people feel, like you just described, like, oh, actually, maybe I don't have to move on in the way that everybody thinks I do. And actually, if I'm just allow myself to feel these feelings, they pass by a lot quicker because we're not hanging on to them and intellectualizing them and judging them. We're just like, oh, this is how it is. Okay.
Yeah. And even that point there about saying how other people think I should be dealing with it, actually, even that's not even a real thing, right? Quite often it's what we think that other people think.
Exactly that. Yeah.
It's like the ultimate kind of overthinking, isn't it? And just kind of making stuff up. And this shit that we tell ourselves sometimes is just bonkers.
Well, there's this story, isn't there? There's this script that we have running. And the thing is, the world will tell us who we need to be quite often, especially as women. Society is always telling us how we have to be, and we create a really strong narrative around that. And it's actually challenging that narrative and saying, hang on a minute, is it actually true that someone's told me no, it's not. Okay. So I can start to work with that narrative and start to kind of break it down, and actually we can redirect it.
Yeah, definitely. And something else I've definitely experienced since starting my business, and I know many people listening will also have gone through, and actually many of our clients will experience, but leading an organization can actually be quite a lonely place, even if you're surrounded by a large team. So how do you help people with that? And do you have any advice around the issue that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, having worked with people who either run their own businesses or at a senior level of leadership in other businesses. So I think there's quite a uniqueness to being at that level. And I think there's an assumption that you should know all the things and be able to do all the things and understand everything and not get advice or support. Yeah. And I think we often look up to leaders and we think, oh, they must know everything. So when we get to that level, we assume that that's how we have to be. Yeah. And it is so lonely. It is such a lonely position to be in. And I think actually people at that level need the support the most because they don't have the sounding boards around them. And if you're running your own business, if they don't do it, they don't understand what it's like. It is such a unique pressure. If you're working for yourself, it is a really unique thing. So we need that more than ever. So I think, what guidance would I give? Seek support in places where you will be heard. That's the most important thing. It's not even at times that you need advice or guidance. It's just someone listening to you. Yeah. And really give yourself permission to acknowledge the feelings that you're having. If it is that loneliness piece that's coming through, even just really acknowledging that can be quite freeing. Putting down that baggage of I have to have everything sorted and solved. Give yourself some grace to feel the struggles and the challenges, because it's normal. We have to really validate these feelings. They are really normal. And I think it's looking for support in places where I think it's being heard is really key here.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the reasons I created the Visionary VA community that we've got for people growing their businesses, because I found it such a lonely experience, several years ago now when I started doing that, and no one was really doing what I was doing, or if they were, I didn't know where to find them. And we've certainly seen that in the group now, people just kind of posting something which they think is really random or unique to them. And actually loads of people then just jump on, oh, I had this too. Oh, I had this. And it doesn't solve it for you, but it's just so reassuring to hear that someone else has gone through it, and actually that you're not doing anything wrong. It's okay to figure it out along the way.
It's that shared human experience, isn't it? We often think we must be the only person that feels the way that we do. And the minute we're able to voice it, again, we get that sense of relief. And even if someone has a slightly different take on it, it's still a shared experience. And you creating that space, that safe space for people, is so powerful, because I don't think we are designed to do this alone. We might be working alone as entrepreneurs, leaders. Community is really important in some form, whether that's working one-to-one with someone or in a group with people. Yeah. We really need community.
Definitely. And the other thing that I see people struggling with sort of running their businesses is, I guess, sometimes that the sort of taking taking the next step, that sort of braveness, and that's been something that I've had to definitely develop. And I think I remember going through a really helpful exercise with you once where I was really stuck on a decision, and I think you helped me to see that actually I do already have the answers. And I think we did something where I kind of looked at myself across the room or something, and I was that person a year or 5 years or whatever it was on, but actually if you were looking back at a younger version of you or a previous version or someone facing that challenge, that actually you could ask yourself for the advice, what would you give to a younger you? And
I love that exercise. Yeah, because it gets us out of our thinking head and kind of it helps us shift our perspectives. That exercise is called Wisdom with Hindsight, and it's one of my favourites, where we just get you to, and we used the room, didn't we? We moved, we went across the room and looked back. And one of my kind of tenets of my work is that I will always have unconditional positive regard for the person that I'm working with. Like, I know that they have all the answers within them, and I'm always reminding myself of that when I work with people, because that's so important. I'm not there as any kind of like expert guide in that person's life. Like, you're the expert in your life and you already have the answers, and it's often just having the space to feel empowered enough to say, I do already know what to do, actually, and I can see clearly now what those steps are, and it just helps you shift your perspective.
Oh, it really does. And it's just, I mean, anyone who I think has ever had any kind of therapy or coaching or whatever it might be always says, I would advise everyone to do it. And I am going to be that boring person that says exactly that, because it just helps you in so many different aspects of your life, things that you never even think are a thing. And I think working through all those issues for me, it was incredibly painful, but actually it's one of the best things I ever did. And it really kind of saved me. I was in such a dark place and I'd really lost sight of who I was. And the point you make about self-confidence, I mean, mine was in tatters. And I think that's taken me a very long time to rebuild. But I think that's the bit that people are most surprised by, because I'm on camera a lot. I seem like a very self-confident person, and it's definitely better. But absolutely, I still can go to that place. And it's taken me a long time to get there. But my business is growing faster than I could cope with. And I kind of felt like life was just passing me by in a bit of a blur. And it's certainly not, it isn't perfect now. I mean, I've had a huge number of business challenges over the last year, as I know quite a few other people have. And I have struggles with parenting as my kids get older and lots of other life challenges. But I think it's about giving yourselves the tools to better handle them. And I think for me, like learning how to self-regulate or knowing what I need it is like to get back up and running. And I've talked on the podcast before about the fact that something will go wrong and I used to maybe dwell on it for a couple of weeks. And now sometimes I go, I just need 24 hours. I need 24 hours to be pissed off and fed up and freaking out and eating some chocolate. And then tomorrow I'm going to deal with it and think through it sensibly. But I've kind of recognized that I need that. And I know that I'll get there eventually. But I do need to have that period first, or talk to the right person, or just figure out what I need.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of using the word being resourced, not resilient. So we often talk about needing to be resilient, and certainly if you're a business, I think that can be a real feature. But I'm more of a fan of thinking about being resourced. And if you're resourced, then you have the tools, which is what you're describing there. It's not about solving all the problems and kind of just moving on. You recognize that actually, no, I know I need 24 hours here just to sit with this, and then tomorrow I can move forward. And that for me really speaks to that resourcefulness. You're really taking care of yourself in that process.
Yeah, and I think I have those moments now where I can sort of look back at something and think, oh, that thing that I dealt with yesterday, actually that used to have really knocked me and it would have been a big thing. And now it's kind of just, oh yeah, that's fine, we'll just do this. And what about that? But there are other things absolutely that still get me, and I do have to take that time out, and it's not something I can always solve. And I think it's tough when you have a team and you feel that they're looking to you for the answers. And I think even with them, sometimes it's okay to just say, I don't know just yet, give me some time, let's all go away and think about this and come back together, and we don't have to actually solve this problem now. I mean, sometimes you've got
but there's something about having a sense of vulnerability in leadership, because I think people know when there's a struggle and there's a challenge, and when we're able to be honest about that with the team that we're working with, I think people really appreciate it. And if you ever think about a conversation that you've had with someone where they maybe share a challenge or a struggle, we don't necessarily judge them. We actually warm to them more. We actually really respect the fact that they've been able to share, and there's an authenticity there. And I think it's good for us to remember that in leadership, because it's a great example to set to other people. Like, we're not robots. There are real challenges that we're facing. And I think it strengthens a team, actually, to be able to demonstrate that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, this transparency has certainly helped with me. We've had to make some tough calls with the team, or we've had to make cutbacks and things. I think if you've kept people apprised of what's going along as you go through that journey, it comes as less of a shock, and they understand the reasons behind your decisions. And it's not easy. And obviously I have to make decisions that are the right thing by the business. And it's very hard you can't keep everybody happy. And I think at some point you actually just have to accept that actually this decision, as long as it's the right thing for you or for your business, you have to accept that there's going to be some fallout from that sometimes, and that's okay.
And I think that sometimes there's discomfort, isn't there? We're, as human beings, we struggle with discomfort. We will actively avoid it, but there's that resourcefulness, that being resourced gives us opportunities to acknowledge, okay, this is uncomfortable, I don't like it, but I can be in it, it's going to pass, and I know how to move through it. And I think that's really key.
Yeah. And I think certainly when that comes to making tough calls with team members and having to potentially end roles and that sort of thing, it used to be the kind of thing it would take me a couple of weeks. I'd dwell on it and not have the conversation, because tough conversations are really hard and they feel really icky. But actually the relief you feel when it's done, and if you're doing it for the right reasons and your integrity is intact, I think that really helps you make those decisions and follow them through, and make peace with it.
And I think integrity is the word there, isn't it? People value that across the board in all walks of life. I think if we're in our integrity, then that's really key. It's really important.
Definitely. So how do you help people kind of identify what they need in terms of help, and where would you suggest if they perhaps don't feel ready for one-to-one coaching, or they're not sure how to approach it? Do you have any particular resources that you might suggest for people to help them out?
Yeah, so I've got quite a few blogs on my website which covers all range of difficulties, and something that is very important to me in my role is that I share quite personal experiences, because I think it's really important for people to know, if they're going to work with me, that I am a real life human being with all of these same challenges as everybody else. So I've got lots of blogs on my website, and often people will come to me and say, I read that blog post and that resonated with me. So there's a lot of resources there. I do have some downloads available. So I've got some nice short kind of meditation grounding practices. They're great just for kind of creating some headspace around an issue. I do also have a nice little checklist available on my website, just if you're not sure if you're a people pleaser, but you think you might be. There's a little guide there for somebody to download and probably just confirm what they already know to be true, but that might be useful. And if anybody is curious about what coaching is, I will always have a conversation with someone first. So people can contact me. We can have a chat about what it involves and the process. It's really important that whoever you're working with, that it feels like a good fit. You've got to feel that safety and that trust piece, I think, before you work. So that's whoever they go to, make sure that they feel safe and trusting of that person to be able to talk through.
Oh, absolutely. It's just so important. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, as always. I'm sure that's been incredibly useful for people. But thank you just so much for this and for everything you've done for me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Thank you. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Visionary VA podcast. I hope you're walking away with fresh ideas and inspiration to scale your VA business. Don't forget to check out our free mini course on building solid business foundations, perfect for setting your VA agency up for success without the overwhelm. You'll find the link in the show notes. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next week.